Well, Florida State took a loss on its own home turf in court earlier this week in its lawsuit against the ACC. But we should probably stop before we read too much into it. We'll explain coming up in this video. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we're talking conference realignment, college football, and college hoops all day, every day. Make sure you subscribe. Live shows typically Wednesday and Sunday nights. Make sure that you get in there for those. It is a blast. We have people from all corners of the college football world in there. Did it on Tuesday this week because of a scheduling issue, but typically Wednesdays and Sundays. Make sure you click subscribe so you know when I'm going live, when you know when I'm dropping content. And if you could like this video, I would much appreciate that. Very easy way to support the channel. And leave me a comment in the comment section. What do you think about Florida State's lawsuit against the ACC? Who comes out on top? And is Florida State acting irrationally here? All right, Matt Baker, who you guys have heard from on the channel before. He's done a tremendous job reporting about everything happening between Florida State and the ACC for the Tampa Bay Times. He was in the courtroom once again, Leon County, where this is happening, where Tallahassee is in Florida. And he leads with this: don't make too much of a Leon County judge handing Florida State University a home court loss Monday in the Seminoles' ongoing litigation against the ACC. That request was essentially part of the ruling the judge, John C. Cooper, made from the bench at the end of the latest hearing about FSU's future in the ACC. So the request coming from the judge was, hey, don't make too much of this being a loss for Florida State for right now. Quote, I want to make sure everyone understands the case is still going on, Cooper said. It's not over. However, as Baker points out, it is taking a detour for technical reasons. Says that's because the judge granted the ACC's motion to dismiss, but will let Florida State amend its complaint. So the ACC's motion to dismiss was granted, but it's not permanent because Florida State will get a chance to amend their side of things. The issue at hand here, according to Baker, is whether Room 3G of the Leon County Courthouse has the personal jurisdiction to hear Florida State's lawsuit against the ACC, which is based in Charlotte. This is about location of the case, which has been very confusing because you have 3 states, 4 total lawsuits going on between Clemson, Florida State, and the ACC. The conference argued Florida State didn't properly make the case to have the case heard in Florida. One of the ACC's attorneys, Amber Nunnally, said Florida State's filings were insufficient or misdirection. And here's a quote from Nunnally. What it really comes down to is they messed up. So Florida State acting like a true Florida man here, lashing out, trying to find a way to sue their way out of the ACC, apparently messed up somewhere along the way. The judge agreed, granting the conference's motion. That, however, is not the end of this debate, let alone this case. So don't take this to be any sort of finality. And honestly, when we're talking about litigation, do you ever feel confident that there's finality with something? I mean, we've got these 4 cases going on. It's going to take forever, I would imagine, for all of this to get sorted out. I mean, perhaps, I guess, we get a settlement a little bit more recently than it would take for all of the litigation to play out. And that does seem to be where some of this is headed. But right now it feels like there are so many loose ends to tie up. Some of the 3 hours of arguments centered on the first subsection under Florida statute 48.1931A. Baker says, we told you this was technical. This is very technical. 3 hours of arguments, at least a large part of 3 hours of arguments centered on statute 48.1931A. You guys taking notes? FSU's counsel suggested the ACC can be in a Tallahassee courtroom because the league does business in Florida. Miami and Florida State are both conference members, and the ACC makes TV money from games that take place in Leon County. The conference also pays Florida State money for those games and production costs. But those points were not adequately addressed or explained in the 59-page amended complaint Florida State filed in January. The judge will give Florida State 7 days from his order to fix the issues through an updated suit. The ACC will then have another 20 days to respond, and Cooper will consider the revised arguments at another hearing. All right, so this is the court game, man. I mean, this is why I kind of rolled my eyes at this. Like, dude, we got to do this for 4 different cases here. Florida State gets 7 days to respond. The ACC gets 20 days to respond to that, and then the judge will determine whatever he wants to do at some time after that based on the arguments that both of them have made. And this all over just a technical disagreement here about the way Florida State tried to make the case. It's a lot, man. This is not, look, Matt Baker's doing a tremendous job with the minutia of this. This is not what any of us got into it to do. This is not what people are necessarily paid to do to cover college football, basically be a court reporter. But that's what's happening. Cooper said personal jurisdiction was the second hurdle in Florida State's lawsuit. The school cleared the first earlier on Monday when Cooper agreed with the university that the dispute is ripe, real, and mature enough to belong in court. In addition to Florida State's lawsuit against the ACC in Florida, the same questions about the same documents have led to dueling lawsuits between Clemson and the ACC in both Carolinas. You've got North Carolina and South Carolina going on there, and then Florida State trying to sue the ACC in Florida. FSU and Clemson, located in South Carolina, have asked courts to rule that they should not have to pay a $130 million fee to leave the ACC. They're also challenging contracts that control the TV rights of their home games, potentially through 2036. That figure leaves hundreds of millions of dollars in the air. Quote, "It's happening now, and we want you to resolve the issues," Florida State counsel Peter Rush said. "The sooner you do it, the sooner this matter is over." What then could get both parties to that point to make this matter over? Here comes the settlement part, right? We've been hinting at this, or things have been hinting at this within some of the language of the legalese that has been in this case for a while now, going back weeks. Cooper, the judge, asked whether January correspondence between counsels raised the possibility of a settlement. That's a common resolution in disputes like this, including when Maryland left the ACC for the Big Ten a decade ago. Cooper also ordered mediation to begin within 120 days. Something he does in every case except mortgage foreclosures. That was interesting to me. Mediation. I mean, yes, does it seem like the ACC and Florida State need some mediation? I mean, yeah, it seems like that could be a pretty good idea, but I didn't know if that was unique to the case because of the contentiousness of all of this, but apparently that is a pretty common practice. Quote, "This is not being done any differently," Cooper said. That in regard to what he is saying about the fact that he always is going to order mediation to begin. Both sides know enough about the issues to have good faith negotiations, Cooper said. Okay, well, he's got some faith there. We can all have good faith negotiations. And both sides should want to minimize the billable hours adding up through legal fees. Now that is definitely true. This ain't going to be cheap for anybody, especially when you're the ACC and you're having to defend two of these suckers right now. Quote, "Both sides have an interest in seeing if there's any way this dispute can be resolved quickly instead of a long period of time," Cooper said. That's where we are. Cooper did not set a date for the next hearing in Florida State's suit against the ACC, but the next hearing in the ACC suit against Florida State is set for May 2nd in the North Carolina Business Court. Okay, so this is where it gets confusing. We don't have a date for the next step in Florida State's lawsuit against the ACC. But in the ACC's lawsuit against Florida State, May 2nd is the date that you need to circle. North Carolina Business Court is where we will see you there. So that will not be home base for Florida State. I don't know. You guys got all that? Have you had time to go ahead and look up Florida statute 48.1931A? Hopefully you have. There will be a test on it on the next live show. So make sure that you come prepared for that. But hey, you need to subscribe in order to know when it is that I'm going live. Subscribe, click that bell, like the video if you could. Would appreciate that. How do you feel about Florida State against the ACC? Who is in the right here? Let me know in the comments. Love me, hate me, agree, disagree. All of that is welcome in the comments. Helps stoke that YouTube algorithm. Appreciate all of you guys for being here. Take care, and I will talk to you soon.